Good evening, everyone. I am your host and instructor, Laney Shaughnessy, and welcome to Spindle TV, your best source for CNC CAD/CAM training videos. Spindle TV is brought to you by Digital Woodcarver, inspiring your creativity and providing you with the tools to create your own unique masterpieces.
Good evening, everyone. How are y'all doing tonight? Alright. So hopefully everything is going well with everyone tonight. We're going to try to get through this tonight without having any complications or anything. Still got to one day work on my streaming to get everything worked out. Howard, hopefully your chat is working now. I saw your post earlier. Welcome, William. Peter. All right. So tonight we're going to work on a decorative pet bed, and I'm going to be working a little bit in the Google Sketchup version 8. It's a free version of Google Sketchup that I've been using for years. And I'm going to provide a link to the download to that. And it's not going to be a tutorial in Google Sketchup. Hey, Ken. It's not going to be a tutorial in Google Sketchup. There's a lot of resources out there for that. Jay Bates, jayscustomcreations.com on YouTube. Jay's Custom Creations on YouTube is a wonderful resource for learning some of the tips and tricks and tools in Google Sketchup. I am basically going to be using the Google Sketchup to kind of lay out the design of the bed, and then I'm going to be bringing those that SketchUp file into the Vetric software, and so to show a little bit about that, how to bring those projects in, those type of files like a SketchUp file and everything. We're going to import those in, and once I get the vectors in to the Vetric software, then I'm going to be doing some adjustments and some addition and things to those, but I'm using SketchUp just to kind of get the three-dimensional look and layout, and then I will do all the fine-tuning and things over in my Vetric software for the joinery and stuff like that. And so I want to welcome you. I want to thank you for joining me tonight, and let's go ahead and jump right into this. Let's see here. The first thing I'm going to do is let my four-legged kids settle down, and we'll switch over. Alright, so in the Google SketchUp, now I've got a preliminary drawing. This is not going to be the finished drawing, and by far it's not the shapes I want for the outsides and stuff, but it will get me started in these parts and things. And then once I get everything laid out here, and then we're going to bring this file over into the Vetric software, and we're going to create the toolpaths. We're going to lay out the parts. We're going to make any adjustments we want to the parts. And then we're going to create the toolpath for it to be able to cut them out. Now, I am basing, this is my small dog bed. I have two dogs. So my smaller dog, her little bed, his little bed, should I say, not her. My big dog's a female. His bed is the small one's 29 inches in length by 20 inches wide. So let me move this. This is kind of a representation of the pillow. Let me move that pillow out of the way. And I'm not finished yet with the drawing here. I want to finish up the drawing, and there's going to be a grid that I've got to put in here, those parts for the grid and joinery and everything, half-lap joints and things. Then I will bring the parts over into the Vetric software. But the Google Sketchup allows me to take a look at my parts, and once I have them laid out, for instance, let's take these keys out. This is going to be a through mortise and tenon with a locking key. This bed is going to be collapsible in case I want to take it somewhere, or whatever the case may be, if they're staying the night somewhere, whatever, whatever that might be. So if I take the keys out and move the parts off, you will see the joinery that I've got going on here for that through mortise and tenon on both sides. Now, I have yet to create the mortise for this, and I haven't worked with SketchUp in a while, so it is it's been a long time, but I'm still proficient enough in it to where I can get this project underway. Now, the front part here is going to have a little notch down. I'm going to round off the edges in the Vetric software. I'm going to add the radiuses to these inside and outside corners to smooth them off in the Vetric software. I'm also going to do some V carving on the front panel and things. And so what I'd like to start out with is, the first thing is, if I can find my tool. Let's see here. My materials. Alright, I don't need to change anything with the colors. Bear with me a second. Shadow fades, eliminated structure preferences, styles, components, materials. Alright. So let's finish up the bed real quick. On the back here, this back piece, I want this to be higher than the mattress, so I'm going to use what's called the push-pull tool, and I'm going to pull that up just a little bit, and I'd like to have a little bit of a stylish curve to the back, and so I'm going to use my ruler tool, and let's see, maybe about 2.5 inches from there. Let's go 2.5, and from this edge 2.5, and I'd like to have this kind of come down a little bit here, so I'm gonna draw a straight line. How far? Let's get that. Well, I got the tape measure tool up here. Let's come down and probably maybe an inch down. Yeah, an inch is fine. I'm gonna go with a straight line from here to here, and from here to here. And I'd like to try to make this as symmetrical as possible. So I'm going to find this midpoint of that line, and from there to this corner, I'm going to tangent that. And on the same thing on this side, if I find that midpoint from here to this corner, tangent to that side. Now I can go in and delete the excess line where those 2 points meet to combine those two vectors. And again, I'm going to push, pull, and pull this to 75 inches, or push it, should I say, to remove that, and push that to 3/4 to get rid of that. And again, these are going to be sharp edges, but I will smooth them out. I will smooth them out and create some round over, some radiuses here in the Vetric software. I'm just using this software for my preliminary layout and stuff. I would like to have a small step up here. So if I take and let's see, maybe about a 1/2 inch from that edge and a 1/2 inch from that edge, I can now draw a line from here to here and from here to here, and I should be able to pull this up a small amount. And I'm just going to go up, let's go up a 1/2 inch. And let's see, might as well do it while we're here. Let's take, again, guidelines for me in this software is about the best thing since sliced bread. Helps me out. Alright, so from this corner point to this point here, I'm just going to a small radius, tangent to edge. I might as well, while I'm here, go push pull and push that 3/4 of an inch to get rid of that. And the same thing here, I'm going to draw a line from this point to this point. Oops, not a line. Arc, Laney, arc. From this point to this point, tangent to that edge, and push pull this 3/4 of an inch. All right, so that's gonna be. Let's get out of this. Let's take and get rid of these guidelines. There's no need for them to be in there anymore. There we go. So this will be the back of the bed here in the front. Now, this mattress, this small, it's a 4-inch mattress, 20 by 29. It needs to have some place to rest on because the frame and everything is going to be up off the ground. It's going to be sitting up, off the ground, and so the let's get that in there and let's move it back. Oops. Let's try that again. So this, in a sense, is going to be the kind of the look and the layout of the bed. I may even want that a little bit higher on this back side. So let's see if I can. Let's see if I can do that. Can I do that? Let me see if my push-pull tool will let me. No, it won't let me. All right. I will fix that in post in Vetric. I want to go a little bit higher. I want to give myself about 1/2 inch above the top of that mattress on this whole top section. So remind me to raise that up a 1/2 inch. All right, so now there is a fancy way. Like I said, I'm not 100% proficient in SketchUp. you know, all the ins and outs for it, but I love using it to help me kind of lay out my project, at least get it, you know, started. That way I can take, when they import those parts, all the geometry is drawn for me, and then all I have to do is, like I said, I'm gonna give my sharp edges some radiuses and things to smooth them out and all. And but this gets me, you know, a nice preliminary start. Now, on the, let's get this moved over onto the screen so we can all see it. I am going to move this out of the way again because the grid that this is going to sit on, I'm going to have joinery between these parts, and then there's going to be a center rib that the slats are going to come onto, and they're going to be half lapped and cut in the Vetric software. And I necessarily don't need the grid, but I would like to, because they are going to be mortised and tenon. It's not going to be a through tenon. They're going to be mortised into these parts here, so I'd like to go ahead and get them, get it drawn. So at the end of it all, let's go ahead and see if I can get these parts in here. Alright, so I'm going to have a slat that pretty much is going to be a 3/4 inch board. So 0.75. And it's going to, my slats are going to be, I'm thinking 2 inches wide. And I don't need them all the way across. I only need, I don't, the one thing I don't want is I don't want the dog, the mattress is firm. It's not like a pillow, it's pretty firm. So I can have them spaced out, but I don't want so much of a space that the pillow, you know, sinks down in there, and the dog, you know, she's only, I guess, what, 20 pounds, 30 pounds or something like that, but I don't want her stepping through and falling through anything like that. So I want to make this grid somewhat workable. So let me turn this into a component, G for component, and this will be my rib. And if I move this and hold down my control key, I can drag a copy to the other side here. And on my center point, see if I can find my midpoint. Let me track it down again. There's my midpoint. I want to go 1 inch. Work with me there, boys. Work with me. All right, 1 inch, and then 1 inch. This is going to be my outline for my next square piece. We'll be bringing it over into the Vetric here in just a moment. I'm going to push-pull this up 3/4 of an inch. And on the joinery, now I'm going to kind of orbit underneath from the bottom side here. That's not going to be the smartest way to do that. Let's do this. Learn how to use your tools there, buddy bro. 0.375. Oh. Alright, we got a little bit of an orange screen. Let me zoom back out to my part here. For some reason my push-pull went away. I must have undid too far, so and Jay, he would be saying, Laney, there's a tool for that. All right, on this here, I want to come down. It's going to be half flapped in, so these two endpoints are going to be milled. So let's go 0.375. And from this point, let's draw a line from here to here. And from there to there. Push that 2 inches. That will get rid of that top or that lower half there. And then from, let's get my tape measure tool back in here and come down 0.375. Gotta love guidelines. Let's take and draw a line from there to there. Whoa. I hate when I do that. I keep moving. When you see that screen turn orange, that's because I'm moving the wrong direction. Alright, let's go back into my line tool and let's draw a line straight down, Laney, straight down. And we're going to take and push that get in there. Let me get back in. That's inside the board. Alright, let me come back over here. I've got to delete that line right there. Alright, so let's see if I can open this up. And the reason why it wouldn't let me push is because this is, I created it as a component. And so let's do that again. Let's draw that line from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. And now I should be able to push that in. Push in. Are you going to let me push in? No. Why not? Oh, don't you hate when that happens? Stand by, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. I had some lines drawn in there. Alright, let me move this out of the way. There is a cool tool called the intersect tool that I have not gotten to master yet. Alright, let's get rid of this push. There we go. Alright, now everything I did on this side should have mirrored on that side of because it was a copy. So the only thing that I need to do is come over here and get rid of this half flap. So let's go into this component. We're going to go 2 inches. So my tape tool, going to go out 2 inches. And we're going to go up 3/8, 0.375. Jay will be disappointed. He's like, man, you're doing it the long way around there, buddy. There's a shortcut to that. All right, push this 2 inches and get rid of that. Now, I've got my half flap piece, and I no longer need all of these guidelines in my way, confusing y'all. All right, let's move this over into place and get it on where it needs to go. Okay, so let's orbit back around to the front of the table. Now, as far as the boards with the half lap, I'm literally going to just, I could just run these half laps and things on my CNC, but I'm going to be cutting these parts out of one board, so the all the joinery and everything will be done in the Vetric software. I mean, I could take it over to my table saw and just do all the decorative stuff and everything on the CNC, and then just do all my straight cuts on my table saw. Either way, I mean, whatever's easiest, for me to get things done. Now, on this part here, since I've already got the half flap drawn in, I'm just going to make my copies of this, and I want 1, 2, 3, 3 more parts. So if I hold down my control key and I move that to here and hit X3, all right, I should have went 4, so let's do now 4's. Let's see here. I want these evenly spaced. So let me do the math real quick with my tape measure tool here. So from here to here's 25 inches. I want 3 ribs across there, 4 ribs. That's about 4. Let's see, 25 minus 6 inches for my slats is 19, and 3 inches apart. So if I come in here and let's hit escape on that. All right, that should help me. Okay, control, or move first. Control, grab that to there. X3, enter. Still off. You son of a gun. You son of a gun. That's all right. I'll find out what that spacing is and add 1 more. I'll space those out in a moment. what's my math there, guys? Let's see here. This is that 2-inch space is going to be wide, so I'm going to take and move all 3 of these over. 1, 2, 3, move tool, and let's just looks good to me. Trying to hurry. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time in the SketchUp software. I was trying to get this done. I just started drawing this when I posted the class video. I think it needs a 4th. Now on these ribs here, they are going to actually be coming across the center rib, and the center rib is going to be half lap down, so that way the pressure is down on that center rib. I believe that would be the best way to do it, or maybe not. I don't think it'd even matter. All right. I think I will do the spacing of those and the half laps and everything inside the Vetric software. I have a lot more control, and I know that software in and out, but that's going to be the general layout. So let's go ahead and yeah, I'm not going to do any other cuts or anything until I get into the Vetric software. So I do not need this part, the mattress, to go over to the Vetric software, so I'm going to delete that. I'm going to save this, and this was saved, if I'm not mistaken, in my documents as pet bed. So in my Vetric software now, we're going to go into, we're going to just bring, I'm going to be using the Vetric VCard Pro for this. Let's see here what Dennis said. You can control move it to the other side and then hit the divide and the number you want. That will give you the amount you want at an equal space. That's awesome, Dennis. That's awesome. Hold on a second. Dennis says, now Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to go ahead and move these guys out of the way. I'm going to move these out of the way. I'm going to, I'll delete them. He's saying if I take this piece and I move it to the other side, holding my control key and move to the other side, and then I hit the divide by whatever number that I want, it'll give me equal spacing, and that is an awesome tip. There you go. See? Dennis, he knows SketchUp. All right, that's awesome. Okay, you're the man. That'll work. Don't ever be sorry. This is what the whole thing is all about. It's not just me. I don't know everything, right? I don't know all the answers. But that's a slick little. I'm used to the X, the multiply, by however many number. But that's slick as snot right there, boy. All right, now, there. That is just slick as snot, boy. I like that. Now, those parts, these parts here, if I were to move this, because it was a copy, if I were to move this up, you see it's already got that half lap joint in there. And because of that half lap joint, I should, if I'm not mistaken, be able to select these parts as well as my center here. And there should be a tool, Dennis, you might know this or not, my intersect faces. I don't know, maybe they can't be a component. Let's find out if that is true or not. Let me move this. I just intersected the faces. No, that part didn't work. And it did. It drew those lines straight down. So I don't want that. I want, if that's the case, then this, oops, escape. If that's the case, then I need to select that first instead of last. So if I take that first and these three parts, and I intersect the faces with the selection, if I hold down now and select this and move it up just to see, no, it still drew those damn parts. Trying to get those faces to intersect. It is in the order you select them. So let's see here. Let's see. So if I'm selecting that first, that might be wrong. Let me select these. I thought I selected these first the last time. We'll do one at a time. Let's see here. This one and then this one. And if I intersect the faces, I don't know, because it's not a component with model. Did that work? I don't think it did. No. I think if this one has to, let's Control Z one more time. Let's explode this. I may be wrong. Let's find out. Let's explode this so it's no longer a component. And if I take this and intersect the faces with the model, the component, yes, there we go. That's what I wanted. It'll draw my geometry. So, wonderfulness, wonderfulness, wonderfulness. So let me undo that. And let me select this bad boy right here. I'm using that to intersect with my geometry. So if I take that part there that's broken up, these parts here, if I shift and add in these three models, would that be correctamundo? Intersect faces with model. And if I group that together now and move it up, my geometry should be, yes, wonderful. Okay, so what that allows me to do is, now I can push-pull these parts out and get, let's open this up, push-pull this 2 inches, this one 2 inches, this one 2 inches, and there should be one more, nope, just those three. And that'll create my half laps. Now I can come in here and I can delete these lines because I don't want them coming into my Vetric. Oops, wrong face. I don't want them coming into my Vetric like that with those lines confusing me. Let me orbit around to the other side. And let me select these lines. Learn something new every day. Thank you for that tip, Dennis, about the divide, and also pointing me out that it is in the selection order. Alright, let's see here. Let's get that. And one more time, I think there was one more vector on this other side that I missed. Two more. This one here. And this two here. Okay, now I can take this component and move it back where it belongs. Move, and I'll grab this guy here and put him back. Okay, so now all that has not done anything with my joinery that I need on the bed here on the inside. And these are going to be mortised and tenoned. Mortised. Are they going to be mortised? I'm trying to think if I want to mortise them. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be mortised, but I want to, because I like to be able to do all my milling for my parts and things. And also this bed, it's got to have some support. They're going to be small tenons, but though. 3/8 inch tenons. 3/8 inch up. Ooh. Alright. So I agree. That's what I'm not going to do. Let's zoom back out. Sorry about the orange screen there. Okay, what I'm going to do with these, and then we're done. I want to take a quick moment. And I want to take and move these parts out of here because I do want to create my mortises and stuff just the same way we did. So I want to move this part out of the way for a minute. I'm going to explode this piece here. And while it's selected, if I select that, I should be able to intersect the faces with the model. To draw in, and if I bring this back as a component, now if I move this out, it should have my mortise slots right there, bam, drawn. Good enough on this side. The other side I can, that's fine. I kind of screwed that one up over there, but I'll draw that one out. Alright, so that takes care of that. I'll be able to mortise that. Let's do the same thing with the other side for a moment. Move this one out of the way. Explode this one. Hold down my shift key, select that, right click, intersect faces with model. And that way it draws out that vector. Select that. Got some extra lines going on here, so bear with me a second. Let's get those going. Alright, that one's cleaned up. Let's do this one over here. Make sure I didn't select anything I don't want. I do not want that line selected. I do want that line That's actually not a line. So let's turn that off. I do not want that line selected. And G for component. Okay. So now I can move this out of the way for a moment. Come around. Get rid of some. All right, I should be able to push-pull this 3/4 of an inch. Get rid of that. Orbit around. Oh. When I intersected with the model, I intersected all of these lines here. Somebody probably, I haven't looked over in the chat, probably said, hey, I bet you guys draw those lines. Did you? Oh. Keep deleting the face. All right, let's get rid of. All right, we're almost done. I promise we'll get over into Vetric, but this is a class on, we got to create the part to bring over to Vetric. And all right, so now once again, I should be able to push-pull this part 3/4 of an inch. There you go for that through. And let's kind of move over. Here. I'm going to take my line tool and connect these 2 points here. Deleting these 2 lines. And then taking my push-pull tool and pushing that 3/4 of an inch. All right, that's that part there. Let's spin around to the other side. Let's grab this part, move it out of the way. All right, so we will start off with our line tool. First of all, we will start off by going into the component. There we go. We'll connect that edge there. And we will get rid of that line to make that my mortise. Make sure, see, I've got this geometry on this side here. I do not want, so I need to take a moment and remove that. One of these days I will master the intersect with faces and intersect with model, because it is a useful tool. Almost there, guys. So I'm just selecting these lines, deleting them. Now I can come around, and with my push-pull tool, I can push that back 3/4 of an inch. I can pull this down and swing around. Get rid of these 2 lines. And push that. Oops. Okay. So something, when it's not letting me have that face, something is amiss. So let's make sure on the other side I didn't miss anything, no vectors or nothing like that. All right. So I'm going to go through and just retrace. Oh, it would help if I was inside the component. Okay, let me go through and retrace this. I could do it as a rectangle, but there we go. That's what I wanted to see. 0.75. Okay. Now, that intersect model, all of these extra, you know, let's try not doing that one. Any of this geometry that I don't want brought over to the Vetric software, I just need to make sure everything is clean. So this is going to be my back part here, my front, and I'd like to figure out this grid system, because it would be neat to be able to it would be nice to be able to cut the mortises in there where I need them. What do you think, guys? Let's see here. Yes, the middle mouse button is your friend. Half line straight cut is my call. Yes. So that's what I was thinking too, Dennis. Are you talking about basically a half line, half lap, where the lower portion or the top portion, one of the two, goes in, you know, of course, part way, hidden for a mortise, or should I just tenon the ends? That's a good, you know, I'm trying to get some of y'all's insight here. Because I'd like to be able, when this is milling, you know, when that part is getting cut out, of course, we're going to have some dog bone fillets, you know, and when we cut them on the CNC machine. But I'd like them to mill, you know, where these ribs go. And since these ribs are flush with the bottom of the part, I don't want to have notches in the bottom. That doesn't, structurally, that does nothing for me. But if the top edge came in on these parts, you know, a half lap in and just kind of mortised, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I know exactly what, Dennis. Okay, the half line dovetail, but structurally, that does nothing unless I glue and screw these parts together. I want this to be locked. When those exterior keys go in, this bed is all locked together, right? And if I ever slide those keys out of the mortises, then the bed can come apart. Well, if I have the half blind, like a half blind dovetail but straight cut, these parts coming in here, there's nothing structurally underneath. I mean, from the top down, you know what I mean? Know what I mean? Know what I mean, Vern? All right, let's do this. Let's take and move this part out of the way for a moment. Bum, 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 bum. Well, actually, let's explode this part for a moment. explode. And then with it selected, I wonder if I take and intersect that without selecting the other faces with the model. Did it draw those vectors in? Let's find out. It did. Wonderful. So now I can move that part out of the way. Bob's my uncle. All right, G for component. So I'll just move that out of the way for a minute. And what I'd like to do with these, and correct me if I'm wrong there, Dennis, because all I have to do is one. These are all the same component, you know, they're copied. So whatever change I make to one happens to the others. And so what I want is I'd like to have this part let's try that again. Line tool. I'd like to push this out by 3/8 of an inch. And I'd like that the mortises on my front panel to be cut in 3/8 of an inch, so it kind of they snap into it. What do you think? I agree. All right, so that side's done. If I take this part here and explode it, not erase it, explode it. Intersect it with the intersect faces with the model. I can put it back together and I should be able to move that now. And just to orbit around, yeah, they're all drawn in. Yeah. Oh, hold on a minute. I'm missing one. I'm missing one. Let's go in and draw it in there. Okay, now I should be able to move that out of the way. All right. That's all I care about. Okay, once again, come into this model. It should update all of the parts. I'm going to take my tape measure tool. I want to come down 0.375. Draw my line across, push pull that out 0.375 to create those little hooks, and then that will be those parts. Oh, I hate when I do that. I run into another part. So what you're looking at on that orange screen is me inside of another piece. Okay, so now with that, my ribs are done. The only thing I need to do in the Vetric software, I don't need to do it here. These are going to be half blind, so they're just going to be 3/8 of an inch deep, and it's only going to be half of these. So I can .375. You know, I can either do it now, draw that line, that line, oh, you son of a gun. Don't you hate when you do that when you're actually not in the component? And when you have a component in of faces grouped together, if you're not editing inside the component, then it absolutely does nothing for you. And so these guys here, they're going to be back 0.375. 0.375. And if I escape out of this, I can go ahead and delete these extra lines there. Now, Google Sketchup, you know, when I first started using Google Sketchup, I knew nothing about it. Just like, you know, we know nothing about the Vetric when we're, you know, when we learn. Jay's Custom Creations on YouTube. I watched all 40 of his videos, and that's all it took. I literally know how to use the tools. There's still some things that I'm learning, but he did a fabulous job. He's a good friend. He did a fabulous job. Let's push that back 0.375, and let's get rid of this line. Now, what's throwing me off is this one. This rib is literally up against the edge of this part, and I've got this gap here, but over here I don't. So one of these is a little too long. Let's take a measurement. It should be 2 inches from the edge. That's 1 inch. That's 2 inches. So that one is correct. This one is 2 inches. That is correct. Which means this whole part. Oh. All right. I believe we are done. Get rid of this line. Okay. So I've done a lot here. I don't want to lose anything. So file save to update those changes. On this side here, basically, let's get into this real quick. The same thing. If what I'm going to do is I need to get a guideline in here real quick. So if I bring a guideline up to here, that'll tell me where I need to draw this line. And before I do that, I'm going to bring a guideline over 2 inches. And that'll tell me where I can draw this line. Okay. Now, from this guideline here, I want to take and I want to come down that 3/8 of an inch, 0.375. And I want to draw my lines across here, and I'm just going to pull these in. So let's get this line in. Let's get this line in, and let's get this line in, and then I'll push pull those, delete my extra vectors, and I'll come back and do the other ones. So while I'm in normal mode, let's go ahead and delete this, and here I did it again, not inside the component, right, Laney? So I love when I do that. Okay, let's get this line in there. All right, there's my two faces. So let's push pull, P for push pull. Push that back 3/8 of an inch. Push this one back 3/8 of an inch. Get rid of that line and that line. Oh, that's a face. All right, one more time. L. Draw that in. P for push pull. 0.375. Oh. Control Z. Push. And space bar to get out of that tool. Click on those vectors, delete. We're going to L for the line tool. These are keyboard shortcuts that I'm calling out. P for push pull. We're going to push that in and type in 0.375. Going to spacebar to get out of the tool. Delete. Delete. Over here, T for the tape measure tool, we're going to pull over 2 inches. And we're going to draw a line from here to here, to here, to here. And, oh, that did not work for me. All right, 0.375. And now I can go in and I'm going to get rid of my guidelines. Get out of this tool. All right, all the parts are drawn that I'm aware of. That does it. Now, someone might say structurally, well, it's only 20 inches. Dang it. Let me get out of this. I ran right into a wall. Hold on a second. Structurally, my end piece here, you know, these are just butting up against here. Laney, what's supporting the center rib? I've got my 5 pieces running across from front to back. My center rib is sitting down into those. I believe that these will be strong enough that I do not need to mortise into the side pieces with that center rib. If this was my 120-pound dog, that might be a different story. But for my little guy, I think that will be structural enough for his mattress and everything. It's not going to flex. Otherwise, I would take and extend this piece, the centerpiece out, and bring it into, you know, a little mortise in here. But I do not believe that is necessary. If I'm wrong, there you go. What about the slender slap butt up to the ends? I knew. All right, see, I looked over, William, and I saw your post just now. Vote, because it's the last two things that we have to do before we can get into Vetric. So should that piece mortise into the side pieces, or do you think it's structurally stable enough to that the ribs coming across will support it? Let me know. Yeah. Because if so, I can pull those pieces in. Let's get this put back together. I want to show you that. Let's move this over for a minute. Let's take this piece and move it over so that I can come in here and work. I'm going to take this part. Oops, not that part. I'm going to take, yeah, I am going to take that part. I'm going to delete that. These are those extra lines that I drew that don't need to be there. Okay. So if I move this part and go ahead and snap right there, I can move him. Come on now. Snap down there, you son of a gun. You gonna be a pain in the butt? Stand by. Move down on this plane. Ooh. Stay on your axis there, boy. Oh, let me get that. All right, my mouse is giving me a little bit of a Kismet fit. All right, let's zoom in here and move that into there. Let's see here. Do it. Probably enough for the small dog. Better do it. Better than not to have it. I'm not gluing. No gluing. I want this to be keyed together with the mortise and tenons. So I better go ahead and do it. I want this to be able to be broken down. If I ever go on vacation or something, my dog has its favorite bed. Hopefully it'll be its favorite bed, right? I want to be able to take the beds with me and pop them up wherever, where we go. I want to be able to travel with them. Let's get rid of these lines here. All right, so on this, what I'm going to do then, if that's the case, on this part here, on this part here, I'm going to double click into it. I'm going to extend that out. Push pull tool, and I'm going to pull that out 0.375. All right, and on the other side, let's zip around, let's orbit around to the other side. Gonna push pull bear with me, I'm in a part here. 0.375. All right, now if I take and get out of that, if I come in here and move this part, I'm going to grab it by this corner here and move it to this corner. Oops. Snap to that corner. Up, up, up. Get in there. There we go. There's my little throughs. All right. While I'm on this side, I'll focus on this side. I'm going to double click into this part here. No, that's not the smart way to do that. If I explode here, let's do this same way we did before. With that, we'll explode it. We will right click and have it intersect with the model. It'll draw that line in for me. I can then come in and G for component. I can now move this part. It redrew all these vectors, but I'll be able to delete them in just a moment. Okay, push pull. P. Let's push that back 0.375. Okay, and I do not want this extra geometry coming into the Vetric software, so I'm going to take a moment and get rid of it. Make sure I'm clean. One little one there. All right, so that part is done. All right, so now we've got a little lock there. All of these joints here have to be dog bone filleted in the Vetric software when we come in and create the curve. All right, last part, last side. Let's go ahead and get this into position. We're going to move this. We'll grab this outside corner here and snap it to there. Okay. While it's selected, we're going to explode it. We're going to intersect the faces with the model. G for component, close it back up. I can move it now. Push pull this piece back 0.375 and get rid of this excess geometry that when it intersected those faces and drew them onto this piece. I do not want those. These are just the vectors. It intersected them, drawing the part. Which is a wonderful tool. It makes it easy for, you know, like what we're doing here. But you want to make sure you do it once and done so you don't have to go back and clean up like I'm doing now. Okay, we are done. We're officially done. What's the deal here? Let's get rid of that. Nope, let's not get rid of that. That's a face. All right, Vetric will clean that up for me. Now, I am actually going to be changing the outer shape of these a little bit. I might want to look like a dog bone or something. I'm not sure. But all right, here's our parts, guys and girls. Now, typically, you do not have to... you do not have to explode a model to bring it over to the Vetric software. My part's off ever so slightly. Let me make sure that's the true case for everything. Stand by 1 second. Okay. Aha! My part's been moved. Who moved my part? Okay. Must have been me. All right, let me get out of this piece that I'm in. But if we didn't explode, you don't have to. We can literally put these, this model together as literally fully, assembled. And I'm gonna snap that to there and move it along this face. Oops. And if I type in, I had it extending out 1.5 inches. There we go. It should be 1.5 inches on 1.25 inches. Sorry. No. Wait a minute. Let's do that again. It is 3/4. So let's. There we go. Yep. All right, so this is the dog bed finally done. Let's get this done and get it over into the Vetric software, and let's create the toolpath. One more time, we're going to move this one over. We're going to grab this corner and snap it to this corner here. We're going to take this part, which is eluding me right now, and we're going to move that, grab this corner and kind of snap it there, and then we're going to drag that out ever so slightly and type in 0.75. It'll follow that direction, and this is the completed dog bed. I'd like to have a, I'd love to have the sides down a little bit, kind of swoop down some, because I wanted these to kind of look like a dog bone or what have you, but this is good for now. We get the idea. You can create your own design. So we're gonna save this, and now we're gonna migrate over to the Vetric software. We're gonna create a new file. Now this is the largest part is gonna probably be about 30 inches. So on the mini carver, of course, you'd have to tile or scale it down. But I believe my longest part, if I were to measure from here to here, is 33 inches. Okay, so my project board is going to be 36 inches, and it's going to be, the widest part was 8 inches tall. So I'm going to go 10 inches. Let's be correct about it. If I went to Lowe's and bought a dimensional piece of 1x10, that would actually be 9.5 inches. So let's go 9.5 by 3/4. I will be working off the material surface. I will be starting from the bottom left corner of the board, and I'm going to click OK. And now in the drawing software, we're going to import a vector. Import a vector, and we're going to import it's a SketchUp file, and in the documents of my computer, we're going to go down to pet bed. If I can spell petbed.sketchup right here, SketchUp file. Now, here's the import menu for SketchUp. We're going to have 13 parts coming in. Okay. I'm going to have it come in as an exploded flat layout. I want to auto-orientate the part with the largest faces being the top face. Now, I could orientate it by material face with the selected material is the top of the face. Like if I wanted all the top of the faces where all the mortise and stuff to come up automatically, then I could literally, I could have identified, see my colors in my software, I could have identified all the faces with a particular color, and it would have literally had those all come up. But I'm just going to auto-orientate the largest face being the top face. And if this was a part that had some special molding or things like that, a special profile, roundovers and stuff that I drew into SketchUp, then I could bring it in as what's called a 3 view, which is the front, top, and side view. But I want this to be a flat layout versus a 3 view. So the flat layout. I want to create circles for those polygons. SketchUp uses polygons, so I want to draw circles for that. And I want to refit the arcs to the boundary. So any of the SketchUp, fillets and arcs and all, I want to redraw those arcs. I want Vetric to redraw them for me. I want to group the imported parts, kind of keep them together. If I have a whole lot of parts coming in, this is only 13 of them. But any of my components, my component files, and any child components that were within those components, I want to keep them together. So I'm going to keep these all together. Now, replace the outer boundary. This creates a single boundary for the component, deleting all parts touching the new boundary. Do not use this if I have dados or feathers and all, so I do not want that. I've got things that I want to keep. But so the only two options I'm going to choose to this are the group the imported parts, and keep the components together. So I'm going to have 13 parts here. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And here are all of my parts that have come in and everything. So now I want to be able to, and I've got my ribs up here, so they're all grouped together and stuff. I'm only going to be able to get, with this size material, most of the ribs will be able to get cut out, but I'm only really going to be able to get one part out of each board. I don't have any small components that would be cut out of this board here. And also I may, let me nest these together and show you what I mean. I'm not going to be gluing up a panel. I'm just going to cut these out of one board. So there's going to be multiple boards that this gets cut out of. It's not going to be all done in one project type of thing with the size of the bed. So let's go ahead and first thing I want to do is I want to ungroup everything. And I only want to group together the parts that have internal features. So I'm going to G for group. I'm going to group that together. This guy here, these three parts inside him, I'm going to G for group. By the way, your group tool is over here under Edit Objects, fourth icon in the top row. This guy here, let's select him and G for group. the front piece, G for group, my center panel, center rib, I guess you'd call it. And then there's no inside vectors there, so I can leave those as that. But on these guys here, they do have inside drawings and stuff, so I want to group them together for now. Right, while I'm nesting, I'll go through and edit everything after the fact, or I could edit it before I nested, either one. But I'm going to go ahead and nest these parts. Nesting is a feature that is available in VCarve Pro and Aspire. If you have desktop software, you won't have the nesting feature, so you'll just manually move these parts onto your work material, different layers and things, and then you would create your toolpaths on them. I'm gonna nest these and have the software lay them out for me. And so, because of the size of these mortises, they're 3/8 inch. So I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch end mill for everything, the whole entire cutout. So my tool diameter is going to be 0.25. My clearance, the space I want between the parts, I'm going to go a 1/2 inch between the parts. And I want them, do I want them to go right up to the border? I could. It all depends on how I'm going to clamp this. So I will go a 1/2 inch away from the border. A 1/4 inch away from the border. It's fine. All right, so I'm going to allow these parts to rotate, and I'm going to go ahead and put in 90 degrees here. I don't want to mirror the parts for best fit. I do not want to allow parts inside of other parts. For this, there's nothing, because these inside, there's no waste inside my parts that's going to be cut out. And so I'm going to go ahead and preview this, and what it's going to do is it's going to create, it failed to fit the parts. So part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so it failed to fit the parts. Nothing is grouped together, or nothing individually. They're all grouped individually. There we go. I need to ungroup. I'm an idiot. That's part 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 that it failed to nest. I need to ungroup these, and I need to group them individually. G for group. G for group. I tried to group them as one. That was ridiculous of me. That was wrong. All right. Once again, we'll go ahead and select all those and preview. Oh, what is it now there, Junior Bob? DeBob? Bear with me. We got something else. That's all good. I'm going to change this angle here. Hold on. My clearance, tool diameter, my border gap. Let's 0 border gap. Get rid of that border gap. Let it go right up to the edges. You son of a gun. Failed to fit part 5 on sheet. There we go. Had my part wrong. Got to let it be able to rotate up to 45. I had it 90, so it was just trying to turn them straight. All right. So for me, there's going to be one 2 sheets. The sides are going to be cut on each sheet by itself. My front and back is going to have my middle rib and one of my other ribs in there, and the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ribs. Did I have 5 ribs? I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I did. I did have 5 ribs. Okay, so my 5 ribs. Now these vectors here, let's go ahead and let's right now active sheet 1. Let's jump over to active sheet 8. All right, this part here is not one of my parts. This is one of those vectors. No, that is one of my parts. I'm sorry, that's my 2 keys. Yeah, okay, never mind. I was about to get rid of one of my keys. All right, so active sheet 8, active sheet 9. 9 has got one of my ribs here, or keys. Most likely, I probably will just cut that out of those 2 keys. I'll end up cutting out of on my table saw. But now everything is nested. Sheet 6 will be my front and one of the ribs. 5. This is nothing. This is not anything. And sheet 3 isn't anything. That was just an extra vector that I had. So I got my sides, front, back, and all my ribs here. So let's go with, we'll start with sheet 1. And let's do some editing. So I need to create a fillet. I need to create fillets on here for these parts. These square pegs can't fit a square peg in a round hole. And because that radius of that router bit is going to be creating a radius here, you know, I need to be able to put those dog bone fillets on there. So my radius for that 1/4 inch end mill is going to be 1/8 of an inch, and it's going to be a dog bone fillet. And I need to ungroup this part. And then I can go in with my fillet tool and I can add my dog bone fillets. Okay. With that, I can open my nesting tool back up and I can go to sheet 2. Ungroup that. Go into my fillet tool. Add my dog bone fillets. I could have probably did all the filleting and all that stuff before I nested. You know, I could have went through and edited everything before I nested. But this is fine to do it this way as well. Sheet 3 is going to be empty. Sheet 4 is going to be empty. Sheet 5, I need to put my fillets in now. On my keys, okay, on my keys, the part here, the key is going to fit in here. Well, that router bit is going to come when it cuts this pocket out. Let me ungroup these parts. Let's ungroup just this one. When that router bit comes and cuts, it's going to create that 1/8 inch radius. I have a choice. I can put the dog bone fillet so my square peg fits in there, you know, or I could smooth off the corners, round off the, do a, you know, an 1/8 inch round over on my straight legs and just let that cut out. It all depends on aesthetically what I want it to look like, and because these are going to be exposed, pretty much everything else is going to be hidden geometry. And things, you know, on the inside, underneath the mattress and stuff like that. This is going to be seen. So I believe that I'm just going to round off my keys. So with a normal round off. Okay. Now here, I want this vector here. I need to grab this vector. And I want to extend it out just a little bit. Okay, I want that router bit when it's cutting this pocket to be able to clear here and trim this edge away. So I want to extend it a little bit, you know, so I don't get a little lip of material here and stuff. Because it's being extended, I do not need to fillet these edges here, but I do need to fillet these edges. Now, this extra vector that's here, coming all the way around, is kind of like an extra border. If I delete it, it now goes away, right? So it's just an extra piece of geometry. So let's go ahead and fillet this. All right, so we'll get this one filleted, and once again, I want to, well, let me go in here and do a normal fillet here. But I want this piece, this part, to be extended past just a little bit, you know, so it clears that out. Okay, now for this part here, same thing. I'm going to go ahead and ungroup this, and the half flaps that are happening here, it's going to be just a straight pocket cut, raster pocket cut, cutting this out. But I need the vector to extend beyond the area, and so I've got to let's see, where do I want to start here? That is this is my rabbit. This is my middle rib, and so I know that I'm going to grab my guideline here. I know that this part is getting recessed into my sidewall by 3/8 of an inch. So if I move this negative 0.375 and create that guide there, I don't have that vector, and I'm kind of curious as to why I don't have that vector there. But I don't have that vector for that that part, but that's okay. My vector is actually here because it extends, you know, my 2-inch piece. This should, if I move this guide relative to its position, a negative 2 inches. Am I off? Why am I off? Let me recap that for a minute. What's my measurement here? Let's jump back into the SketchUp for a moment. Let me see what my measurement is. Let's move this out of the way for a second. Two and 1964s. That makes more sense. So relative move negative. Let's do the 1964s equals 2, and then put that minus sign in there because I'm moving to the right. And create new guide. There we go. So that is my area there. and I don't have a vector rectangle that goes to that far. It goes to here. And so I'm going to delete this so you can see this rectangle here. And I'm going to drag this rectangle back to that line because that's my half lap. I want it to extend slightly beyond this line because I want my bit to be able to pass. And I want it to extend beyond here and here slightly. So that's going to be that pocket cut for that half lap there. Let's get rid of that guide, and we don't need that one. Okay. Now over here, this is my next half lap. So I just want the router bit, and if I hold down my shift key and grab this, I just want my router bit to go beyond that part. Same thing here. Hold down my shift key. I want my router bit. When I do this pocket, I want it to go beyond so I don't have any rounded edges, you know, anything like that. So we're going to extend that out. Not much. You don't have to go far with it. And then last but not least, if I were to take and I don't have a vector here. I don't have a rectangular vector there. So I'm going to delete, oops, or not delete, sorry, I'm going to draw one. I'm going to snap from here to here. Sometimes SketchUp gets it right, sometimes it screws up a little bit. But I'm going to hold down my shift key. Okay. And now what vectors don't I need? I do need this one for the profile cut. Let's see here. If I delete that, that's going to delete my profile. I don't want to do that. So let's Control Z, that one. And I want to select just this duplicate and delete it. That way I have that nice dotted line. I've got a duplicate here. So I want to select it. Delete that because I want my profile cut. Nice dotted line. I don't want all these duplicates and doubles and things. Nice dotted line. That's my profile cut. Again, I'm selecting. I can see the dark pink line. You know, this dark pink line, that tells me that there's another vector on top of it. So now I've got my, you know, my cuts. Okay, so that part is done. Let's go ahead and create the toolpath on this so you can see how this is going to play out with this part, this particular part. Let's make sure that everything is nice and smooth. Actually, that looks good. But if you recall, I wanted to go a little higher on this part, about an inch. I said I wanted to go an inch up. I wanted to raise it up an inch. I do not believe I have an inch space here. Let me find out. Oops. Let's measure between 2 points. How about that? I got 5.6308. I got a little over half an inch. Can I gain? If I move this up? Might as well center the part, right? I don't care if it goes off the edge. So now I can take this part here. I'm going to group it together just while I'm moving it so I don't screw nothing up. But I should be able to bump that up, and I should be able to now get some height there because all I need is that's close. I'll sacrifice, I'll take, and I'll go 7/8 instead of an inch. So I'm going to take and cut my vector in node editing mode here. I'm going to cut my vector. It's all grouped together, so let me group it together. Let me ungroup it, I mean. I wanted to raise this up, so I'm going to go into node editing and I'm going to cut here. And on the other side, cut it here. And I'm going to go ahead and while that part is selected, I'm going to move it using the move tool relative to its position on the y-axis up and down. I'm going to go down so it's a negative number. And I'm going to go negative 0.8750. Click apply. Ooh, that brings me right past. Let's undo that. Let's go negative 0.75. That's fine. I'll go 3/4. All right, now with that move, now I can take and select this part here and join with a straight line twice to reconnect that. Okay, so that cleans up that part. Now let's create the tool paths on it. We're gonna go over here, and the first thing I'm gonna do is my pocket cuts. So they're all gonna be with the same router bit. And they're all going to be 3/8 of an inch deep on these mortises and stuff. So I'm going to select all of those. We're going to go ahead and pocket that 0.375 inches deep, not 0.375. Using my 1/4 inch end mill for that. And I'm going to, this is going to be my sheet 5 pockets, 0.25 end mill, and let's calculate that out. Alright, so we got those pockets there. Alright, now we've got a profile cut. We're going to do this profile cut here, and then these two guys. Vector selection is really important, so I'm going to select these two first. This and this. This is going to be a profile tool path. We're going to be cutting on the outside of the line. We're going to be cutting all the way through the material. And I am going to be using my 1/4 inch end mill. We're going to take a break here in a minute and answer some questions. Just trying to get caught back up to where we took a little bit longer. Alright, 1/4 inch end mill, and then this is going to be sheet 5 as well. Sheet 5 profile cut 0.25 end mill, and I'm gonna add tabs. I'm gonna add tabs to this. You'll never see me add tabs, so I'm gonna add tabs. We're gonna go the tabs 0.2 wide, 0.1 thick. Edit tabs. We're gonna go I don't want to I'll put a tab there because I got to smooth out that edge anyway. I try to stay away from corners and stuff. Alright, now the tabs here. Alright. So we're going to go ahead and calculate this toolpath, and let's go ahead and preview that selected cut. Okay. So this is my center, the back. This is the backboard of the bed. I want to put tubs. I want to put some names or something. I'd probably do some decorative V carving back here. I want to do, you know, instead of just a plain old bed, I want to do some decorative V carving or something. I'll figure out what I want in there, but so this is the middle rib. It's half laps, and the reason you see here, the reason why we extended those vectors wider is because had we not, we'd have had this radius right here in this corner. By extending it beyond, now we have these nice straight cuts for our half laps and things. Okay. And all right, so that's sheet 5 done. Now back in the drawing side, if I go back into my nesting tools, I can go ahead and bring in sheet 6. Sheet 6 would be the same thing. I've got my, let's ungroup this. My little half lap, my little 3/8 inch half lap that's going into that part, we're going to extend this out just a little bit. Never on the inside, always on the outside. And we're going to hold down the shift key and extend this out a little. Okay. In the center, we're going to extend that. And on this end, I do not hold the shift key when I'm doing the end one, but on the sides, if I hold the shift key, it'll expand those sides evenly. Alright, so that takes care of my half laps. Let's go in and do the fillets. So 2 fillets. Oops, let's ungroup first. I know. Ungroup. All right, real quick, I'm going to take a minute and save this project. you get involved with designing, and you kind of forget. Pet bed. Yes. This is my small pet bed. Save that design. All right, now once again with this ungrouped, I can go to my fillet tool, and I'm going to do my normal fillets first on the little through mortise keyhole. Like I said, on my straight edges, I'm just going to round over those edges and things so they'll fit into that slot. I don't want to have the dog bone fillets being exposed. All right, I've got some extra vectors. That's a normal fillet. Let's go into dog bone fillet here. I've got some extra vectors on here, so I'll delete that in a moment. All right, let's move over. Now on this one, this is the front of the bed, and first thing I'm going to do is delete that, extend this out. like we did before, and on the other side I want to extend this out, and then don't forget to put my fillets on there as well. Let's put that dog bone fillet here and here. Alright, now on this cut here, I want a nice radius transition. I don't want it to be so sharp. This is the front. So it is going to be my fillet tool, and I'm going to go with probably 1/2 inch radius. That's it's a normal fillet. I need a normal fillet. You know, yeah, just a nice little 1/2 inch radius works fine for me there. There we go. So it's a nice transition, not sharp if the dog goes to jump over and all. I don't want a sharp point and stuff there. Now, on my inside corner here, this is that router bit when it's coming. It's going to create a sharp corner up here, which is fine, but this is my inside corner, and it's what's going up against that side piece. So I definitely, let's change back to my 1/8 inch radius. I definitely want to add a fillet here, so that part fits flush in there, and I want to do that here as well. And I need to go back and do that on sheet 5 also. I need to go back and do that on sheet 5 also. So let's, this part is done. It's ready for its tool path. So let's go ahead and pocket tool path. We'll grab those 3 items. I got some extra vectors here. Let me get rid of some of these extra vectors. Bear with me a minute. That's a good one. No. No, 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 no. Ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum. There's an extra vector there, and I need it to let me grab it. Let's see if I can. There we go. Oh. Oh, oh, oh. I don't want to delete that. That's my profile line. All right, I gotta. SketchUp didn't draw these vectors correctly for me, so I need to go through and clean them up for a moment. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into node editing. I'm gonna cut the vector on that corner and that corner, so it keeps that part. That will allow me to delete this part, and now here I'm gonna move this to a new layer. I'm gonna call this my edit layer for a minute. So I can turn that layer off for a second. There we go. That way I can come in and use my scissor tool and trim that away. So that will rejoin my profile cut. I'm going to need to do the same thing with this one, so I'm going to take and move that one to my edit layer to hide it for a moment. And that will allow me to take this node edit, cut the vector here at this point, get rid of this, and then rejoin. That should, nope, bugger. My scissor tool, trim that away. Well, hold on a moment. Let me move this to my, let's Control Z. I need that line back there. Okay, this vector is cut. Right? Wrong. It's cut in the wrong place. So, node editing. Cut the vector here. Cut it there. This is my little 3/8 inch delete that. All right, there's that border, wonderful. This I can delete, and this here I can join back together with that. Okay, son of a gun, I did it again. No, I didn't. Forgot that they're on the other layer. All right. So once again, pocket cut. Let's grab this guy here, here, and here. Hold down your shift key when you're selecting more than one item. Let's grab all of these boys right there. And this is going to be 0.375. Pocket cut. This is going to be sheet 6. And 0.25 in mil. Again, this bed, when it's entirety, when it's complete, this bed is going to be 29 inches in length, 20 inches in wide. That's the mattress. And it was a mattress purchased from Walmart, I believe it was. Dollar store, Walmart, something like that. It was a nice little mattress. I think we might have ordered it online. I'm not sure, but I think it was Walmart that we ordered it from because it delivered from there. But it's a nice little mattress. Now on my profile cuts, for sheet 6, these are going to be cutting all the way through on the outside with my 1/4 inch end mill. They're going to add some tabs. Let's see here. I'm going to put a tab here. Here and here. Okay, so we will calculate that. All right. So that looks good. Now I need to go back in to sheet 5 here, because on this internal radius, I need to add a fillet, a dog bone fillet on the inside corner here and here, here and here on that profile cut. So that part, so that bit has somewhere to escape, and this part sits flush and flat up against that side when it goes through that side. And with that, I need to go back into, I need to rename this one first before I get too far along. Sheet 6. All right, I need to go back into that sheet 5 profile cut, and I need to recalculate it now with those new radiuses in there and all. And so that takes care of those two things. Now, as far as the rest of the parts, they're just all profile cuts for the two sides. Except for I got a pocket cut for the little mortise there and there. And I believe that you guys understand. We just did sheet 6 and sheet 5's cuts, and so we'll do one more, and then we'll go into a Q&A for the last few minutes. So one more. Let's go with sheet. One. Okay. We've got a pocket cut for this part here. 0.25 end mill, cutting 3. It's rinse and repeat. It's the last pocket cut. Everything is the same. So this is going to be sheet 1. And we'll calculate that. And then for the profile cuts, because these are through cuts here, this will be a profile toolpath, cutting all the way through the material. We're going to add tabs. No inside tabs. I'm not adding any tabs on the inside, but I will go ahead and add 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs there. Oh, let me rename that. This is my sheet 1 profile cut. 0.25 end mill. And we'll do one last pocket one so you get the understanding. This is sheet 7. You'll understand about the all right. So when the let me ungroup everything. When the Vetric software pulled in all the files, it pulled in all the sides, top, bottom, left, right, pulled in all the sides of the boards, that were drawn in there, those 3-dimensional images, the top vectors, the bottom vectors, side vectors, everything. And so we have to go through, and depending on how it drew it, if it drew it correctly for us and things, we can go through and clean it up and delete what we don't need. Well, all I need is my vectors for my little mortises, or my little tenons, should I say. I keep calling them mortises. And so this here, I'll just pull out a little and hold down my shift key and pull that up. I can actually select both of these if I wanted to. I could have done all 3 of them at the same time for this one, right, for that outward motion. But I want to really kind of do, oops, we don't want to do inside. But really, it's just easier one at a time, because I want to be able to hold the shift key and pull that out. Now what this is doing is it's making that pocket area beyond my profile cut, so the router bit, when it's pocketing in here, passes through and I don't get that radius cut. You know, I get a nice straight cut. I don't get a radius right here. I get a nice straight cut. That radius will be out here where that's all that waste wood. Same thing for this center here. We'll just extend that out. And these end pieces here, hold down the shift key. I can do both of them at the same time. Let go of the shift key, pull that front out. This one here, pull the front out, hold down my shift key. This one here, pull the front out, hold my shift key. All right, now as far as the extra vectors, we have to notice how this is my profile line right here. If I were to delete that vector now, well, now I don't have the profile line for that profile cut. All of this rectangle here and this rectangle here was all separated, right? And so I'm going to undo that delete because I actually need this vector, but I don't need these inner rectangles, but I need these outer vectors here. So what would be a good way for me to do this quickly and easily? Well, I can go through and cut the vectors that I want to keep from the rest of the things. So if I go into node editing mode, right here on this intersection, I can cut the vector there. Cut the vector there. On this end, I can cut the vector here and here. Jump right on over. We'll grab this line. Notice this line goes all the way, almost the full length, right? So if I take this, I can cut the vector here and here. And that separates that from the rest. So now if I go in, if I select this, I can delete that vector. I should have just a dotted line now. That's what I want, that dotted line. Over here, I don't have the dotted line because there's a duplicate vector on top of it. If I select this duplicate vector, what does it do? It selects all of that. So I need to get rid of that. Oh, not that one. Let's go through and grab the one that I need to get rid of. And that should give me now if I hide these, I'm going to hide these for a moment. Let's take this one and this one. We're going to move it over to that edit layer for a minute so we can turn that edit layer off for a second. And what that does for me is it allows me to take my trim tool and just snip that away. Oops, not that. It snipped that entire corner because I'm not extended out. So I'm going to use my extend tool, you guys and girls. Extend tool allows us to snap and bring that back over to extend those two. Now I can use my scissor tool just to get rid of that line. And it should, in all rights, by all rights, because I had it chosen to join the vectors after trimming, that should take care of that. Now, if I come over and hide these for a moment, move them over to that edit layer, I'm just calling it the edit layer for, to hide it, I should be able to come in and trim. Nope. Once again, it won't trim because that line does not, I cut it in the wrong spot. So the extend tool is very handy. It allows me to kind of redraw that little segment, extend that line over. So now I can trim that line away. So now if I've done that right, I should have a clear dotted line all the way around and everything. So we can go ahead and turn that edit layer back on and get all those vectors. Now, the same thing here. I'm just going to delete what was selected there, and I've got this dotted line that stops, and this dotted line, you know, these two rectangles. Well, if I come in and take this guy and this guy, I'm just showing you multiple ways to do this. If I move that over to that edit layer for a temporary moment and turn it off, now I can come in and use my polyline tool and literally just snap a line from here to here, spacebar to finish. Snap a line from here to here, spacebar to finish. Use my scissor tool, my interactive trim tool, and trim that line away and that line away. And now I should have one continuous profile cut there. Okay, so the last one, we'll do that similarly. Let's take this and delete. I'm going to take this middle guy here and move him to the edit layer so he goes away for a moment. My polyline tool to snap from here to here, here to here, and my interactive trim tool to trim. And that should join that together as one vector. Now I can turn back on my, edit object, and I have all my pocket toolpaths and all. So with that, all of these, I'm going to select everything and hold down my shift key and turn this profile, and this profile off by reselecting it, and it deselects it so I can go in and create my pocket toolpath. This is sheet 7. And that's it. You guys get the idea. That's rinse and repeat for the other two sheets. 0.25 end mill. All right. So that's those pocket cuts. And then my half laps. And then we'll finish up with the 3 profile cuts. If I hold down my left mouse button and drag a mouse drawing a selection window from right to left, just touching these lines, it'll deselect the others and reselect those 3. And we can go in here and profile cut all the way through, add some tabs. For these, I'm just going to add tabs. On the ends of the board. They're small. I don't need a whole bunch of tabs. We can, this is sheet 7. The sheet number, you'll see it underneath the sheet right here in a faded, area here. You'll see that sheet 7. So this is sheet 7. And calculate. Oh. Calculate. And that will take care of that sheet for those half laps and parts and things. Now on the front, the back, of course, we would add in some decorative designs, some V carving or something. Heck, you could even do a 3D model cut, put a 3D model in there or something, whatever you want to do. I'm not going to do that right at this moment. I just wanted to come through and show you how I utilize SketchUp from time to time to help me draw out my parts and things, so I can get that 3-dimensional visualization of what the project is going to look like, and then I can import those parts into the Vetric, make a few little cleanup and adjustments with the fillets, and you know, deleting vectors and things, extending my pocket cuts and all, and you know, working it out to create those toolpaths. So I'm gonna have, essentially it created 9 sheets for me, but of those 9, sheet 3 and 4 are empty. This sheet 9, I'm not really gonna probably most likely cut that. I may redraw that part here and put these closer together. I don't know yet, but nesting has helped me kind of lay that out as to let me know how many boards it's going to take to create my bed. You know. All right, let's take a look at. You guys have been having a conversation without me. Let's see here. Let's kind of go back. Do it. All right, Peter Hearn says a 1x10 is 9 1/4, not 9 1/2. Is that a true statement? Let's see, a 1x4 is 3 1/2. A 1x6 is 5 1/2. A 1x8 is 7 1/2. And a 1x10 you're saying is 9 1/4. Well, why? That makes no sense why they would do that. Confirm that for me, guys. Anybody got a 1x10? Because if so, I'd have to kind of redraw some things. I'd have to relay it out. Let me know that. Thank you, Peter, for pointing that out. Let's 2x4 is 3 1/2. So let's confirm that if anybody's got a 1x10, you know, put it up in our chat. No, you don't have to do it right this second, but you know what I mean. Let me know if it's 9 1/2 or 9 1/4, because that would mean I'd have to adjust my boards and things because I have them set up for 9 1/2. So I'd have to adjust my spacing and stuff. So somebody can let me know that. Let's see here. But the extra rib. 5, I think I see 6. Myra LeBlanc. Is Myra, are you a customer of ours? Is Myra a new customer? We don't wing anything around here, Myra. Alright, let's see here. You could use a flat sheet of plywood, yep, if I wanted to have it lay, you know, on top of the ribs, you know, a little, maybe a 1/4 inch sheet of plywood so the mattress sits on top of that, you know. Absolutely right, Dennis, that's good. Are some of your parts too big to get the 1/4 inch in, you know, from the edges? No. Are some of your parts too big to get the 1/4 inch in from the edges? Yeah, no, I could have got my 1/4 inch, I believe. Let me see here. Let's look at sheet 1. That's my biggest part. Sheet 1. I believe it was because I had the rotation wrong. Let's see what I got for space. That's 0.86, so that's almost 3/4 there. And down here, another 5/8. So I could have got my 1/4 inch all the way around, even on my largest part. But when I nested, I had it set at 90 degrees here, and it was giving me the errors. The second time around, the first time around, I had these 5 parts grouped together as one item. And of course, it couldn't fit on the board when that big group, you know, it thought it was a one item. So I had to group them individually. But then the second time around, I had the rotate set to 90 instead of 45, and so it was keeping them straight or 90, and those parts were not fitting. All right, let's see here. Yeah, the slats are not on the floor as the ends. The side pieces, the two sides, have it raised up. And, you know, I thought about, like, what if I wanted to take the sides instead of having them kind of lowering like that, maybe put a nice arc in here, some kind of decorative design, maybe turn these into a shape of a dog bone from a dog or something, you know. I'm still going to play around with that, you know, a nice little dog bone bed, you know. Make them want to get in that bed. But let's see here. On those keyholes, did the fillet go in and not out, or did I miss something? Leanne, help me out here. On the keyholes, I'm assuming here you are referring to, let's put one of those keyholes on the that is sheet number 5. Let's pull up sheet number 5 here. On the keyhole, Leanne, on these, the fillets, I did not want the dog bone fillets like on the, you know, on the mortises and stuff. I'm just going to take my actual square key that's going to get cut, that square key, and I'm going to round over the 4 edges to make it fit, get a nice snug fit in there, because for aesthetic reasons, this is the only exposed part on the outside, and I did not want a dog bone fillet out there looking goofy like that. So I elected to just do a normal fillet, little round over, and I'm going to round over the 4 edges of my key that's going to go through there. And that was for Leanne. So no, you did not miss anything. It did actually go in because it was a normal fillet versus the dog bone fillet. All right, Vern, thanks. That's my first look into SketchUp. Yeah, SketchUp is pretty cool. Wow, you show how to do clip art. Would you? Sorry, Howard says, would you show how to do clip art? I can't get it to work for me. I'm missing a step somewhere. Sure. I'm assuming you're referring to the clip art library. Howard, help me out with this. Which let me get into sheet number 4, which is a blank sheet. Are you referring to the clip art tab where all of your models and things are? Or are you referring to tracing a clip art that you find on Google? Let me know, Howard. So Howard, confirm the clip art tab. If you cannot, Howard, if you click on the clip art tab and you have 2 options. You've got design and make, and you've got clip art. If you click on clip art and nothing shows up, none of your models and things, then that did not get installed from your Vetric software. So you just need to reinstall it. One way to find out if it's installed is to go to your file manager and go into the C drive. So this PC, let me find this PC on this crazy hectic computer, this PC. So if you go into your C drive, users, public documents, Vetric files. You'll see the clip art folder in there, and you should have your subfolders with all your clip art. If they're not in there, then they did not get installed properly when you installed the Vetric software. Just go back and reinstall them. Now, so the models show up Okay, you can do the Google okay. So what is it that you can't do with the models show up is what you're saying. And what's the question? How to do it? Basically, you drag and drop the model in, or you double click, whichever one you want to do, and bring the model in. Double click or drag and drop. You size your model, position it where you want to, and when you're working with a model, you have two toolpaths that you run: 3D rough, 3D finish. That's it. When you're working with a model, you have to go into the material setup and click set and determine where your model fits in the material. And right now I have an error. My model's thickness is 0.84. It exceeds the thickness of my material. So I have to go and hit the set button, and I need to adjust the model height, whatever I want it to be, so that it has a, that it fits within my material. Now of that, this light tan area of my 3/4 inch board, the light tan area represents my model. Where do we want to position it in the material? Well, this horse has a lot of muscles and everything, curves and contours and stuff. Well, I don't want it sitting at the top of my board because the top of my board is flat. I don't want flat spots in his ass or his hip or anything, so I'm going to add a few thousandths of an inch of material above to be carved away before it starts shaping that model. Now once I've done that and I've adjusted that material setup, now I can go in to create the rough cut and the finish cut for my toolpath. If it requires a rough cut, I'll come in and create that rough cut. And the model, in this case, I'll use the model as the boundary. If I was carving everything around the model away, so it's kind of raised up in 3D like it looks here, then that would be the material as the boundary. And if I did this for this bass and this fish, might as well get the bass in there as well too. If I calculate this with the material as the boundary with my 3/16 inch end mill, it actually needs to be my 1/4 inch end mill. I'm going to use my 1/4 inch end mill. This is the rough cut. The material is the boundary, and I'm going to raster along the x-axis the length of my board, and I'm going to calculate the toolpath. Now I can preview that toolpath, and that's my rough cut, so it'll carve that rough cut away. And let's turn off the draw tool and see if we can, let's stop this, turn down my preview simulation quality so it'll go a little bit faster. So there we go. So that rough cut will mill all the material away around the high parts of my model. And then I come in and create the finish, 3D finish. Those are the only two toolpaths I can use with this. Again, I'll be using my 1/8 inch ball nose for this. Material as the boundary, just like before. Rastering. Now a raster angle, 0 if it's rastering along your x-axis. 90 if it's rastering along the y-axis, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm rastering along the x, so it's a 0 angle, and I will calculate that toolpath. And that will create the finish cut for this. So the first thing is you bring your model in, double click or drag and drop, size it and position it where you want. Go into your material setup, find out where the position of the model is in the material, and make sure that the model's thickness doesn't exceed your material thickness. If so, you need to set and adjust that Z height of the model. And then once you have that positioning in the material setup set, then you can create your 3D rough cut or your 3D finish cut. In those cuts, you have 4 choices: model as the boundary, material as the boundary, selected vectors as the boundary, or a selected level. The model as the boundary means it's only going to carve within the limits of that model area, basically kind of carving it down in that wood. And if I were cutting this horse out, like a profile cut around this horse, then I would do the model as the boundary, because there's no sense in wasting all that time cutting all that material if I'm cutting it out. The material as the boundary is going to mill all the material away, giving that model a raised look on the top of the board. Selected vectors means that there's only a certain segment that I want to calculate, and therefore I've drawn a vector boundary around it, and I have that vector boundary selected, and it's going to carve within that boundary area. And selected level means that in my modeling tab, the levels, okay, it's only going to carve the models that are on that level. All right, it's only going to work with and carve the models that are on that level. Now, both of my models are on level 1, so it's going to carve both of them. Now it's nearly finished with that, and while that's going on, let me know, Howard, if that answered any part of what you were asking or needed to know. From Vetric to SketchUp, does the find duplicate vectors not help or speed up the process in locating and removing duplicate vectors? That would help, right? So there's not a vector selector and all that duplicates and stuff inside the the SketchUp software, of course. But in here we could use duplicate vectors, but they're not really duplicates. Okay, they're on top of each other, but they're not duplicates because the SketchUp has drawn those lines in different ways. So a duplicate is an exact match, and those weren't duplicates. But it may, there may be times where it does help. Let's see here. Can you please review the centering tool? I thought you demonstrated a while back how to equally align multiple items within a vector. I cannot find my note on how to do that. Absolutely. So let's preview this finished cut. Let's kind of wrap up this finished cut. So now it'll go through and do our finish cutting. Hopefully, Howard, that helped a bit. And when this is done, we're going to go into how to center and evenly space multiple items. Okay, so there's our models carved out using the 3D rough and 3D finish. Those are the only two toolpaths that we create, and using the material as the boundary so that it mills the material away, giving that model a raised look on the top of the board type thing. Okay, so the question was if I could re-demonstrate on how the alignment tool and how to align multiple vectors. So let's say that we have a rectangle here, and let's say that we have hold down my control key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say I have 5 of these circles that I want to align to the center of this rectangle, and not only align them but space them equidistant, evenly. So in that alignment tool, I will select the 5 circles first because I'm using the align to selection. The items I want to align, I select first. The last item that I select is what I want to align to. The last, that's why it's in capital letters here. So if I hold down my shift key and grab that rectangle last, now I can use all of these tools, and so I can center them in that rectangle, and they're all stacked on top of each other right now. And then I can check off to space the selection inside that last vector, and I can do horizontal or vertical. In this case, it would be horizontal to space them evenly. So once again, you would select the items you want to align first, the item you want to align to last, align to selection tools, center, and then check off inside last selected vector and space horizontally or vertically to spaced evenly. Okay. Yeah, when you're working with models, you only have 2 toolpaths that you can use. Now, that does not mean that I can't use those toolpaths for something. If I have a model and some vectors, some text or whatever, for my model cuts, I'm using 3D Rough and 3D Finish. For those vectors that I'm carving that text and all, I'm using Pocket Cuts, Profile, V-Carve, whatever the case may be. But when I'm creating that or working with that model, 2 toolpaths, 3D Rough, 3D Finish. David, did that help you out with that alignment tool and spacing? All right, ladies and gentlemen, any other questions? Any other questions on this? Now, this dog bed is for a 20 by 29 inch mattress. I will be providing the files for it if anybody wanted to make it or something. I will be providing the files for it, and I believe I bought that mattress as 20 inches wide, 20 inches in length, and you know, it's got the memory foam in the middle, and I believe I bought it at Walmart, available at Walmart or, you know, online. I think it was at Walmart. But if you're interested, I will be posting this video or this this file up in the digital woodcarver owners group. All right. So I believe it does set above the floor. Let's see. I'm trying to go back in to older comments and stuff. All right. Well. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Then it's 10 o'clock or 10:04. We're gonna go ahead and call it a night. I'm gonna clean up these files, organize the sheets and everything, and I'll make them available to you. I'll also make the SketchUp file available to you and provide you with the link to SketchUp V8 version 8 download, which is a free version of the SketchUp. I never really saw any need to pay for it, you know, it's a paid version and things. If you want, you know, it adds more features and stuff. But this gives me everything that I need. I have no reason to ever upgrade beyond 8, and I'll provide the link to you guys for that download if anybody wants to download and play around with SketchUp. again, Jay's Custom Creations, Jays, Jay's Custom Creations on YouTube has a wonderful playlist of SketchUp tutorials. I have watched every video in that playlist multiple times. That's how I learned to use SketchUp, and Jay's tutorials are phenomenal. So be sure to check those out as well if SketchUp is something as far as something that interests you, learning and being able to draw and create three-dimensional kind of projects to visualize, so you can get a visualization. That's really all it's for. Let's see here. You're all welcome. I want to thank you all for attending and sticking with me this evening, and y'all have a great night. All right, we're gonna